are going to go through just some basic how to transform your photos to film, creative ways to overlay images. This will be very basic. We've already gone through chapter 1, how to create a title to your video. Chapter 2 related to basic video editing. But this is if you have photos. If you have a series of photos, maybe from a family event, you have photos from gaming that you want to put in film or video format. So this is the video for you. So we have here the program that I've been using, which is Power Director. As mentioned before, you can use other programs. There's Adobe Premiere, there's other video editing programs that generally follow the same type of process. They might look a little different, they might have some different features. And again, with photos, just with film and audio, you really want to make sure you have permission to use whatever you're using. So if you're using personal photos that you've created yourself, you should be fine. But if you're finding things online, make sure they're from sites where you can use them for free, that they're in the public domain. We want to follow all copyright laws, and so be sure that whatever you're using in your videos, including photos, are ones that you have permission to use. So we are going to start out with looking at the setup. Again, this is our media content library. As pointed out in the first footage or chapter, you can import new media files this way by clicking here, but I already have some items in here. What I did was, and this might be of note if you're interested, here is footage, gaming footage that I have. This is actually not photos but footage, but you can actually extract photos from it. Like say you want a picture of this scene, you just click on this camera, it pops up, you can save it where you want to save it, and it's saved in that file, but then it also appears in your library. So I have a number of pictures here from that actual gaming footage, but these can be family photos, this could be an event you took pictures at, anything. Some of these other photos are just stock photos that came with the program. So let's just like with the video footage, you would left click and drag down to the timeline into the track that you want to use. In this case, we're going to go back to back photos. We're going to use track 1. Again, you see how small this is here. You can click here in this area and drag to sort of zoom in. It doesn't change how long this photo will show. In order to actually change the length of time that the photo appears, you want to click on it, and you see if you go to the edge, this icon comes up. You actually can drag that out, or you can drag it in to increase or decrease the length. Now, I'm just going to put a series of photos side by side. Again, these can be family photos. Maybe you had folks over for an event. You took pictures and you want to make a video out of it. So I'm just going to pull these back to back. And so you're stringing them along. Again, you can, say I want this one longer than this one. You click on it. That icon comes up at the edge. You left click and drag. You can make that one longer. So you can play around with that. but you want them to be right behind one another. Otherwise, you'd have a blank space in your video. And you usually know that because, as you can see, when you're pushing it closer, a blue line comes up, and that tells you that it's right up next to the one in front. So now, if we play this, you'll see that the photos are back to back, and they jump from one to the other. Now, those transitions are abrupt. As we've gone through before, we'll stop that. We can go down here to transitions, and one thing that I didn't show last time, I wasn't fully remembering it, but if you were to use this program, the default for transitions, if you go up here, go to editing, the default for transitions, and I'll just bring any transition down, and remember, you want the transition, want to drag the transition down to cover both pictures or both clips, and release. You'll see that when I inserted the transition, this picture moved and overlapped with the first one, and everything on the timeline moved down. Now, I changed that in my program only because when you're doing a lot of editing and you have a lot of photos or a lot of clips, when that happens, it can kind of mess up things as you have gone through and aligned things, and then you put in a transition, and then suddenly everything moves. So we'll click on the transition. I'm going to delete it, and see everything moves back. These move back this way. So in the settings here, under editing, set default transition behavior, I prefer cross. And what that means is when I bring down a transition, put it here, nothing moves. I prefer that just so that if I'm adding transitions after I've done a lot of editing, that I'm not inadvertently messing up how I may have aligned things down in later in the track, or especially if I'm doing a lot of overlays over this and have things down here in other tracks aligned with this. So I just wanted to point that out. So we can add transitions. This program, as pointed out before, has a number of options. Just drag down, make sure it's covering both pictures. I'm just going to pick some random ones. Oftentimes my preference is to use the same transition throughout. To me it looks cleaner. Or if you're going to use different transitions, I try to have some, reason why I'm changing the transition. But it's all about preference. But here I'm just using random ones. Just drag down. And actually, let me delete this last one. Or you can do the standard, take this one, drag it, put it over the one before, hit crossfade, and you just have a fading type transition. So if we play this again, I'm not going to start from the very beginning. That's one transition. That's another transition. That's another transition. And that's another transition. And then the next one will show you what happens if you just drag one photo over the other and do crossfade. So once you have your series of photos, in the way that you want it. Uh, Chapter 1, as I mentioned in my earlier video, you can add, titles to this. I won't go through it today. Check out my Chapter 1 video on creating a title. You could drag that down. In this case, you're inserting, and then you could put a transition here. You can double click on that to edit your title as we showed in the first video. And you can also put a closing title down here through the various templates that may be in your program. Now, maybe you want to make your footage a little bit more interesting. What you could do is you can actually overlay photos. So, for example, if we let me delete this one. I'm tapping on it and hitting delete. Let me use these down here in this other track. Let me see, where would be a good place? I'll put it down here. So the lower the track goes is the order in terms of what's out front and in the back. And so right now what you'll see is you just see this one in track 2. Oh, I double clicked that, which I didn't intend to do, but which is a good thing. So I double click that, and if I can shrink this to reveal what's behind in track 1. I can drag it to wherever I want. Okay, so let's play that, and it just appears. Now, if you don't want it just to pop up, you can click on it. You can go to Tools, Picture-in-Picture Designer, and you get some options here. What I normally do is I will go down to Fades and click Fades, Fade in, Fade out, so that it's not as abrupt. You can also add, say, a border, but there's different options here that you can add for a picture-in-picture type of overlay in your video that you're creating. Shadow effects, reflection flip. You can play around with these just to see what you prefer. So now you get this type of scenario where it more subtly fades in and fades out. And you can add more. I mean, if you want to add down in track 3, again, you click on that, double click, and you drag this down. And let's see, because the first one has a fade, it's coming in, so you can arrange this the way you like. Over here, fade in, out. Can add a border to this one as well. Forget which color I used. It's kind of a darker color. And line it up as you want. You can do this for as many tracks as you like. I mean, to add a new track, there's 4 tracks here, video and audio. To add a track, you just click there, and you can indicate how many tracks, whether it's just a video track, audio track, effects track, below or above another track, and you would just click okay. So you could add photos down here to overlay with what is, on this first track that you're working with. One thing of note with the fades, I did it by going to Tools, Picture-in-Picture Designer, but you can also, you see these little lines here, opacity 100, opacity 0. If you want the fade to be longer, you can click on this and drag it, or if you want to make the fade shorter, you could drag it one way or the other. This little green line that you see shows you the fade. And I'll actually get into more detail about this. The opacity can actually be managed on any video footage or photo simply by going to this line and moving it, dragging it up and down. Similarly, if you have an audio clip, you can drag up and down how loud it is. We don't have an audio clip here, but if you wanted to add music to your photo, video footage, or whatever you're calling it, you would simply just import an audio track, and you would let's see, we have my opening audio track, and where did it go? Right here. You can drag it down to the audio track. It could be in the first track. You can actually, since the audio is not connected to your footage or your photos, I mean, you could either insert it there, insert it in any of the audio tracks. But if you insert it there, that's basically how you would add audio. Again, please follow all copyright laws. Please make sure you have permission to use the audio. I know YouTube now has, I think, an audio library if you want stock audio to use with any of your videos. So in essence, this is a basic way of, if you have a bunch of photos, you want to make a video out of the photos, how you line them up, how you can use transitions, how you can add audio, how you can overlay them and manipulate them. Now, the next video, I'm actually going to start going into keyframes. You'll notice in my intro video I actually have a photo moving in the opening, and so in my next video I will go into keyframes and show you how you can have movement even with your photos, your still photos in your film, and that technique can be used both for photos and for video footage. One key thing that I would point out is that when you're doing this type of editing with photos, you're not confined to photos. You could actually pull down, a piece of video footage and combine video with photos, and sometimes that can create very interesting effects. For example, sometimes with some video footage, I might get a picture, take a picture of maybe the last part of the video, and let's do this, snapshot 7. And drag it down to the end and actually cross fade a little bit. I don't know if I'm just doing this randomly. We'll see if this works out the way that I intended. So it sort of prolongs that last piece of footage. So, I mean, play around with it. I mean, I learned most of this just really from playing around with these programs, doing videos for my church and for enjoyment. But a lot of this is about taste, but I think I've given you the basics between chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3, which is today. You should be able to do a lot of good video editing, and producing a lot of good videos. But look out for chapter 4, which will be about keyframes and how to create movement with the visuals in your video. This is HB5 signing out, and enjoy your gaming, enjoy video editing, and I'll talk to you next time.